Now, this is supposed to be a true story. Now, whether it is or not, well, you can make up your own minds. But apparently, in the late 1940s, early 50s, a woman that was done up like a dog's dinner got onto a bus, and it was sort of in a country area. And as she's sitting there, she's absolutely busting for a fart. And she's sitting there squeezing it in and squeezing it in. And she thinks, well, there's a hill coming up on this journey. And when the bus driver changes gear, and with the revving of the engine, she decides to time her fart to coincide with that so nobody notices it. Anyway, she mistimes it, and she lets out an absolute snorter. And everybody on the bus looks round at her, you see, and she's absolutely red-faced. Oh, she's very embarrassed, and to hide her embarrassment, she says, "Conductor, have you a map of the route?" And the conductor says, "No, madam, but we can stop the bus and get an handful of leaves if you like."
I'm laughing. I've heard it before. Sorry, that is disgusting. Isn't it? I mean,
Oh, I've heard worse. I've heard worse.
Well, first of all, before we start, I'd like to wish everybody an happy new year, a fantastic one, full of inner peace and happiness. And shall we all wish Klaus Anal Schwab, shall we try and aim a load of peace all over him? So whenever he goes, we'll aim some peace at him, shall we? Yeah.
Careful now. Okay. That's all you're on about there.
Well, anyway, we've got here Nathan von Uncle Klaus. That's nice, isn't it? And I've renamed myself Eric von Good Vibrations because we're going to talk about vibration. Right? And first of all, I'd like to wish, I've already done that. I wished everybody a happy new year. So let's have a look, see who's in chat tonight. It's DJ Flipped. Good evening, Chris, guests, and everyone. Happy New Year, one and all. Looking forward to another great show. That's very kind. Thank you very much. And you were the first one on. You was on about 7:30. And then we got Chris the Gardener, who's coming on in a couple of weeks' time. Evening, Chris, and I think Nathan. Looking forward to Happy New Year, one and all. And by the way, I haven't eaten my potatoes yet. So, so you might beat me because we're growing potatoes, Chris and I, and we're neck and neck in a race to get to them. And so are the slugs as well in my garden. And then we got, you hello. Right, you're saying hello. Then we've got Mark Anthony. Evening, Chris and everyone. Happy New Year to all. Then we got Louise. Hello, Louise. Everyone, Happy New Year. Love to you all. To all, rather. And then we've got Happy New Year. That's very kind. Ralph Winter. And then we got Stig, which morning all. That's New Zealand. And of course, you went through your New Year. Was it about 12 hours before we did? So you're actually in January the 2nd, aren't you? And we're in January the 1st. So, and it's summer where you are, isn't it? Midsummer. Oh, I'm envious. By the way, to make you a little envious, Stig, I'd like to let you know that it's absolutely hissing. I didn't say pissing because that's rude. It's hissing with rain here. And it's cold, it's wet, and it's typical English weather. Got Suko, everyone. And we got Cat Holly. Happy New Year, everyone. With a green heart. That's nice. So happy New Year, Cat, as well. There we go. Anyway, it sounds like your microphone's about to be sick, is it? I mean, look at this.
Oh, I don't know. It seems all right.
Oh, well, right. We're talking about frequency. And I've been looking up, I've got my note of names because I've got terrible memory for names. Anybody ever heard of Dolores Cannon? Now, she talked a lot about vibration and energy. And the late great Dave Starbuck, I was a good friend of his. He used to do. It sounds religious, but it isn't. He used to do had an organisation, well, sort of a business called Revelation Tapes. People thought it's nothing to do with religion, and he was long before the internet. He started doing interviews with people and recording them and sending cassette tapes out to people through Nexus magazine, and he made quite a good living at doing it. And he studied numerology, all kinds of things like that. And he said that if you're, I've got to be careful what I say on YouTube. If you're a sensitive person, and I actually did a show about sensitive people with an H at the beginning, which is high. Yes, right. Then and they took it down for some unknown reason, even though there's loads of people talking about it. So, but he said you will attract lost souls and loose cannons, and he was trying to warn me of something, because he said you will be a magnet. He said and you'll learn this, and it's quite interesting what you're saying. He said he has throughout his life been a magnet for lost souls and loose cannons. That's the way he put it. And I think we give off a frequency, and that frequency, we've all got these different frequencies. You can be on a low one, high one, or whatever. But that's why I think, I don't know whether you're like this, Nathan, but if I go into a crowded room, I'm a bit sort of for a while. Do you find that?
Into where? If
you go into a crowded room,
yeah,
a bit,
yeah.
You know, it's sort of
overwhelming.
Yeah. And I'm uneasy in groups and clubs and things like that. I don't frequent them, apart from one year before last. But I think that what's happened, and I've got a theory, is over the last 3 years, something has altered frequency, and it's changed people's frequency and perception. I really do believe that, and I wonder if anybody else is as well.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think that perhaps that's something to do with I don't know, certain things being inserted into body parts?
Procedures.
Yeah,
I think it is, but I think what it's done to a lot of truthers and truth groups and that, it's given them pent-up anger, lots of anger, which they will want to expel at anything. And I actually think that the social engineers have engineered it so that people are suspicious of other people by saying, oh, there's a shill here, there's a shill there, there's a shill here, there's a shill there. I mean, I don't know where that comes from. It's probably the King's Shilling or something. I don't know, during the First World War. And I'm thinking, this is odd. This is very, very odd. And I've actually noticed a very, very, very much a change of energy in the last 3 years from that. And also people that haven't, like myself and yourself, that haven't had that. So, you know, I guess, have you noticed it, Nathan? I mean, has anybody else in chat noticed it?
Yeah. Well, from my, I can only obviously speak from my particular perspective. It's almost, to me, as if there's a hive mind in effect. Now, obviously, yes. I would say that there's a lot of interlinking factors to this, including certain towers going up, certain things being inserted, and of course, we're dealing with some very clever social engineers, for want of a better word. I mean, I refer to them as the PSEs, which is the psychopathic social engineers. And they are light years ahead of where we think we are, because they've been developing certain technologies for a very long time in military complexes, or whatever you want to call them. But there does seem to be a hostility, I've noticed, especially in town centres, and not all of them. So, for example, where I live in Teesside, well, it's I've never liked the place anyway, but there's certain areas of the town that you go in, and it's as if you're being watched by everyone. I know that sounds like paranoia, but then you can go into a different city centre, say Leeds or Birmingham, and you can walk around there with a completely different energy. It feels more. It's definitely more energetic, but less. No, I'm going to use the word negative. But yeah, there does seem to be a certain. People changed, and I
Yes.
know we've been traumatized on a mass level. Of course, we have. Whether you believe in it or not, we've been traumatized. We've gone against. Well, we've been forcibly put against what we think is natural, and of course, therefore, the community and your families have been torn apart. We're different.
We are, and I've noticed now. I'm going to make a very bold statement now, which might upset people. I've noticed that amongst people that into truth, shall we say? I don't like saying movements. I mean, the only movement I think about is bowel movement. You know.
Sometimes it looks and feels like that in certain movements.
That's right, and you're right. And I've noticed that there's a big difference between those that are 24-hour television addicts and the ones that are not. Now, I don't watch television. I don't have television. And the ones that are looking at the television, I'm wondering whether there is something going out, because they seem to be the ones, not all, I'm not saying all, seem to have a kind of pent-up anger. I don't know. A bit like, you know, when they, I mean, none of us were alive to know, but when they used to sort of hang people and behead them and things like that, used to be apparently loads of old dears at the front with their knitting, really enjoying it and watching. Oh look, his head's rolling off. Oh, lovely. You know? And there's that kind of element, like when they were looking for witches, and they reckoned that most of the witches that weren't witches were given away by women, not men. It was mainly the women that rooted out the witches because they were frightened of anybody looking at them as being into that. Yeah. So they actually went to the Witchfinder General and people like that to put away other women. And self-righteousness there.
Yeah. To me, I mean, you said a lot of that could have been through fear. What about, I mean, it sounds a little bit to me as if there could have been a lot of jealousy that led to people falling foul to the whole the witch trials. I read a book recently, actually. I think it's The Devil's Whore or something like that. It's a it's a fact book, and it's looking at certain cases in history, and apparently 1 in 4 of the victims of the witch trials were men. And it goes. It wasn't just the peasantry or things like that. It goes all the way up to the higher nobility. The idea was if you had a competitor or somebody that you didn't like, you accuse them of being a witch, and that's it. The trials are upon them, kind of thing.
Well, it's a bit like under the communist system. Pol Pot, for example, he went back to the year 0. And people were actually, I mean, he apparently, per head of population, he was the worst tyrant of the lot. He killed more people than almost anybody else per head of population. And people were going against each other to save themselves.
Yeah, and this, that would be through fear.
Yeah, all through fear. And it's strange, but Kat says something interesting. And by the way, Aunt Sally says, "Good, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year." That's Aunt Sally. That's it. And Kat Holly says, "I think the light vision, or that, is a constant wind-up tool for upsetting the masses. Also, TV viewers apparently become disabled from seeing reality. Seeing reality. Was so happy when I got rid. Same here. I think I know what you're getting. Am I reading that right? Disabled from seeing right. Yeah. I know what you're getting at, Kat, because, for example, well, it's a bit like my dad So during the war, when he first saw the first dead body, it really, he started to get a bit upset about it. But then after a while, you become complacent with it, you know, and
You're
like
desensitized.
Desensitized, completely desensitized. And I've noticed now they show everything. Everything is shown. I mean, for example, in the apparently up until about the 1980s, in films they weren't allowed to show guts and gore. So you notice the films in the 60s, the early 70s, cowboy films, someone would get shot, they go, oh, like this. You wouldn't see any guts and gore. They're just sort of, oh, and things like war films. You didn't see any guts and gore at all. But they showed guts and gore, for example, during the Vietnam War, that little girl was running along the road after that napalm attack. They showed that. The press photographers were right at the front showing what was really going on. Now we've flipped the other way around. Press photographers are not allowed to be at the front and showing you what's really going on. They're about 3 miles behind the lines. But they'll show you guts and gore in films and plays to desensitize us. So people will look at that and think, oh, that's only on the films. But the most powerful image I've ever seen is that poor little girl running along, burning in Vietnam with that napalm after that napalm bombing. That that is really upsetting, that picture. But again, that would not be allowed today. You would not see it on the films. You would not see the press. I don't think they would censor it.
Maybe not for live footage, but I mean, are we on about live events, or are we on about TV in general? Because there's some TV shows out there that just don't seem to have a sensitivity meter at all now. I mean, it's not complaining about it necessarily, but things like The Boys, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. It is so graphic and bloody. It doesn't hold anything back, and sometimes you've got to kind of sit back and think, whoa, what the hell have I just watched here? But again, it's to desensitize people, isn't it? But then desensitize them for what? Which is the worrying part. Going back to the comment received there about, when it says it makes them not see reality. Could that be something to do with the alpha waves?
Yes.
Because it puts you in a state of alpha, doesn't it? It's like a alpha brainwave state, which then it's almost like a not meditative state. But it's like you're in a trance in a way.
It is like that, and I think also, I mean, as Kat has gone on to say, but it is a known mind control tool, because the flickering, you've got the flickering of the screen, and what got me was during the Falklands conflict. I'm old enough to remember it, and what they did is it was very controlled press that they had. And they reckon why the Americans lost the Vietnam War is because the press photographers were everywhere. In fact, they were often at the front quicker than the actual troops. I mean, there's a famous film, I think it's on YouTube, where you see this press photographer and there's bullets, this freaking chain, they go all around right at the front. You see a bloke in front getting shot. And then suddenly a bomb goes off and there's mud everywhere, and he's still broadcasting. He's still carrying on. And you hear that and the cameraman gets it, and he's still continuing. He's still not stopping. He's still reporting.
That's dedication.
That is real dedication, or lunacy, one of the two.
Just a bit.
But you don't. You see, that was the thing. Now, in the Falklands, that was completely different, because what you had there, it was very, very controlled, strictly controlled. And they had a civil servant tell you blatantly what's going on and that. And apparently the press reporters there were not allowed to go anywhere unless the army told them. And they had actually army forces press with them, showing them around what to do. Here we go. You show this, you show that. And I know that a certain country in the Middle East that we're not allowed to criticise, they do that as well. But that doesn't surprise me. Oh, what a surprise! You know.
Well, I wonder what they could be what they could be hiding from the world.
Well, I just wonder. Yes, yes, it's quite interesting, that, isn't it? But
Well, we are just. I mean, just what you're doing there. I mean, obviously, being careful what you're saying. We are self-censoring it, you know, which is sickening in some parts. But if you don't do it, you're deplatformed. So we are living in now 1984. We are.
that's right.
We're in it.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but as I say, I don't know if it's a new year or what it is, but YouTube, they put my links back, and I can now comment. So, and I think it was that probation period. That's now over, so that's it. But I still want to get away from YouTube and just use it as an advertising platform to tell people where I'm supposed to go. But the trouble is, you go away from YouTube, you notice that, for example, BitChute, my audience is down by about 2/3. Rumble, I think I had 20 or 30 people watch my Rumble channel. Don't advertise it. And Odyssey, I think about 6. Oh, and a bloke with his dog, yeah. Right, now this is quite interesting what DJ says. When I mention to normies I don't watch TV, I tend to get a blank stare. There is a division. I don't like being in groups either, nor do I. Maybe we're particularly sensitive to bad vibes. Spot on. And also, I think there is, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm not, you know, but there is a group mentality. And a lot of people in groups are looking for a leader, looking for somebody to tell them what to do. I've noticed that a lot. And I mean, I feel very uncomfortable in groups. Clubs are not my scene or anything like that. I mean, someone said to me, "Oh, I saw you cycling along the road the other day." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I often go." She said, "Well, I go by cars." I said, "Well, it was a nice day, so I went by bike." And if it's hissing down with rain, I'll go by car, you know. But if it's a nice day, I'm going to get a bit of exercise. I said, "Why don't you join a cycling group?" That'd be my idea of hell.
Why would you need to do something like that just to enjoy what you're doing?
I go where I want, when I want, how I want. I'll stop when I want. Start when I want. Nobody's telling me what to do. You know? But no, it's a very strange thing.
Can we go back to that comment as well, actually? Because that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
There, right. So I know exactly what he's on about there. I'm assuming it's a male with a picture and everything. It's almost like you're presenting them with a maths dilemma that they've never come across before. It's like, what do you mean you don't watch TV? It's like, well, I have a television where I can, you know, I mean, for me, I watch Blu-rays, right, or I watch a streaming service, but I never ever watch mainstream at all. I can't abide it. It's just, I mean, to me, it's mind-numbingly crap for one thing, and for another thing, you're bombarded with adverts and commercials. So there's more mind control, more brainwashing, more telling you to buy more material possessions when then they turn around as accusers of being unsustainable. No double standards there. Yeah, they do give you the blank stare, which is
right.
interesting. You can't get their heads around it. It's just like, you know, take this back 60 years ago. You'd have been out doing things, something productive. You'd have been meeting with communities and families and having, it's mad.
But I actually find, I call it the touched up look, because they all look as if they've been touched up. They don't know whether to smile, don't know whether to be serious, don't know whether to enjoy what they've just been sort of, you know, something's just sort of, ooh.
How weird, he doesn't watch television. Please do. I don't know if that's still going. Oh, God.
Doesn't watch television, doesn't eat junk food. Very weird. Yeah, it's just
I might eat a bit of junk food.
Yeah. Now, Paul Stubbs has said, "Hi, Chris and Nathan." Hello, Paul. Whom the gods would destroy, they must first make mad.
Is that the very Paul Stubbs that I know? Is that?
Hello. Where am I? I'm back again. It's early this week, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
hello,
Sorry, Nate.
Paul. If that's the Paul Stubbs I know, hello, mate. I hope you're all right. I hope you've recovered from our discussion.
Well, I think that imagine if previous generations have often said this. First World War generation, they're all gone now. Second World War generation, I think they're virtually all gone. There's only a few very elderly people that could remember it. If they could wake up, say the First World War generation in particular, and see the country now, they would need a hell of a lot of, shall we say, you'd have to convincing that we didn't lose a war. They say, no, we lost. Definitely lost. Those that died, say, in the 50s during the height of the Cold War, and they woke up now, they'd say, oh, the Soviet Union won. Well, they'll be right, because they did win. Not the Soviet Union, but the communists did win the Cold War. We lost it. There's no ifs and buts about that.
Yeah.
But I'm going into territory now that the claxons are almost starting to warm up in YouTube now. It's about
the oh shit meter's going off. It's on. You're in the red zone at the minute.
That's right. Well, this is quite interesting. Mark Anthony says television is one of the most potent social engineering tools ever devised. TV programming. Think of that word.
Programming, yeah.
Is made to be highly persuasive so as to instill desired values and beliefs, viewpoints and opinions.
Yeah. It's an entrainment tool. They're using it to model society, aren't they? Again, the social engineering. And there's many ways to do it, but television, it's one of those things that it draws you straight to it. Put you in an alpha brainwave state, which again is easy to then get into your psyche and reprogram your brain.
Well, that's it. But they started in the. I know I've been on about this before, but this subliminal strip. But I was watching a documentary the other day about Champion the Wonder Horse before my time. The Roy Rogers, was it Roy Rogers and the Lone Ranger or something? Champion Horse, and apparently the program is sponsored by a bread company, and it's called Champion Bread. That's why it's called Champion the Wonder Horse. So even in the 50s, they were at it. Champion.
Oh, yeah, I think part of the reason they've come up with it, yeah. It seems to me that the tool that they were going to use all along. So actually, John Heyman's going to murder me for not mentioning this earlier. He last year, I can say that now. He went to Iconic Studios to film a documentary about television and brainwashing. Which it's currently available on Iconic if anyone's interested. What makes this good for me is because I went with him while he did it. So hey, but yeah, it's available on Iconic, and it's talking about exactly this, about mind control through your television and all the things that are attached to it. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I know they brought out a good cartoon about somebody in a camp, haven't they? I think is it David Icke? Because does David Icke run or own Iconic Studios? I don't know anything about it.
I think it's his sons who own it, but obviously he's got that. It's a platform that he can use without being censored, and it's very good actually. It's for anyone who's interested. I mean, you can get free trials. I mean, I like it. It's like Netflix for truth.
Wow, sounds because he did start. Was it People's Voice? And that is
that had a few interesting things to do with it, didn't it?
Yes, and was John on People's Voice? I can't remember.
No,
I know Mark Windows was.
Richie Allen was on it.
That's
People's Voice. He was part of it. I think Mark Devlin had something to do with it as well. I don't think it was a big. I'll ask him because I'm seeing him the next couple of days. But I know Richie Allen and David Icke and a couple of other big names. I think it was the first run that they had for their own platform. But there was a few.
Sonia Polton, who they had an argument with, she was on it as well.
Okay.
But we won't say anything about her because they had falling out, didn't they? But I used to watch it, and And unfortunately, it got a bit like in the end, and I feel sorry for it because it's a brilliant idea. It got a bit like the BBC late night lineup, you know. It's got what the deal is. But apparently, Dane MC said Emmerdale is on fire tonight. Is it really?
It's about time they burnt the bugger down. Let's be honest. Not what you meant, though.
Is that a bit like Crossroads where they had sort of dodgy scenery? You know, they closed the door and the wall were going in and out, and they would actually have their lines written, I think, on the back of their hands or something. Yes, it is a windy day today, isn't it? Q. Apparently, it was such a low budget that if they fluffed their lines, they just kept it in.
Good exercise for ad living.
We got here. Is it global boiling?
Well, not here. It's bloody freezing. I wish they would turn the temperature up a little bit.
Today it was grey, and now it's pouring with rain outside. We're going to have that until about Thursday, I think. Rain and rain and rain and rain. Oh, have you ever had rain as much as it's rained? It hasn't stopped raining since about September, has it? October was wet. November was wet. It's wet.
I don't know, mate, because from my pessimistic outlook, every time I look at the skies, they're either spraying it or it's just completely blanketed. And so it's always dull grey with a kind of neon tinge to it. So a bit of rain I don't mind because it's different to the usual dullness. Unless that's just Teesside, I don't know.
It might be. Chris the gardener may have noticed what I'm about to say now. I was at my garden today and I could smell. Can you imagine a chemically almond smell? Sort of like, you know, when you, first of all, it's like almonds. I thought, but you imagine like a synthetic almond. I thought, what's a bloody strange smell?
Right.
Oh, weird. Then I'll smell, you know, when you've struck a match, what's that? What they have on the end of a match? Sulfur. I can smell sulfur.
Yeah.
Strong. I was thinking, and it was getting really strong, and it was this real heavy grey overcast cloud. And I was thinking, this is weird. This is very weird. Where are these smells coming from? And I was thinking, first day of the new year.
Yeah.
I wonder. I went in. I thought, strange. About half an hour later, I went out again up the garden. I still smell, but the smell changed. It went from sulfur to sort of like almonds, but synthetic almond smell. Sort of. I thought, what is it? It's weird.
It could be a bit. Well, that's worrying for two reasons. One, sulfur is associated with demons. Yeah, and supernatural occurrences. And almonds. I'm not sure this is correct. So what I'm going to say, it might be incorrect. But apparently, almonds they've got a level of, they've got so much cyanide in them. Now I know things like apple seeds and stuff have an amount of cyanide in them. So if you're smelling sulfur and almonds and things like that, that could be quite worrying in terms of what the hell are they spraying now?
And also, from my I've got water barrels in my garden tubs, and I have to admit they're minging. I haven't cleaned them out for a long time. And but normally the water that comes out is clear. It's like a load of bubbles, like washing up liquid on the top. It's really weird. It's all frothing. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Why should the water be frothing? Because it's been raining and raining and raining and raining. And I've got a water test meter because I've got a zero water filter who've got a special offer at the moment. And from Miles, you can go, he sells them. Anyway, what I was going to say is normally down here, it's one of the most, I think it's a very polluted. It's 340 parts per million normally. And I think the maximum, people always say, what are these parts per million? I'd like to know. I don't know. But there's all kinds of nasty things, pollutants, whatever. And it's 340 normally, and the maximum is 380. so we're pretty close to the top. And it's Thames water, even though I'm in Hertfordshire, it's Thames water. And I decided to test the water that comes out of my minging tubs. And I thought that's going to be off the bloody scale. But you know what it was?
Okay.
5. I thought, no. So I took water from another tap, put it in, 5. But they're the 5 parts per million are probably the most terrible bacteria ever. Isn't that weird? 5 parts per million. And you know, they're minging. When I say minging, I think they're clean now because I say clean with the rain. But now I tested this was last year, I think. I tested my with a water meter the other day, and I've done it twice. It's now gone down to 294, so it's dropped almost, which is weird. And I'm wondering it's because of all this rain. It's strange, isn't it?
Well, it is a bit. I mean, first of all, I'd love to know what they're measuring there with the parts per million. I mean, what's all that about? But again, look, I mean, the skies are polluted, and so whatever's coming down in the rain, therefore, is polluted, and it's quite deliberate, as far as I can,
Yes, I believe that as well. Yeah. But isn't that strange though that's dropped? But I mean, if you get something like a Brita water filter, money, it just drops it by about 40 to 50 parts per million. That's all. So I mean, unless you live up in the Scottish Highlands or something, if you're near a town or anything like that, it's still going to be pretty high. I don't know what it is where you are, but down here, as I say, it's dropped to 295, 94, which is quite a considerable drop since last year, But now Pat has kindly said, thumbs up, folks, only 5 so far. Bless you, Kat.
Thank you. Technically, I put one of those thumbs up. I always do by default. It's the first thing I do.
That's very kind. Yes, was it Craig's herd mentality? Was it finger out, thumbs up? The editors kept and DJ flipped.
Yeah.
Says Jamie Ike runs Iconic. I believe, yes, Mark Devlin did a music show on the People's Voice. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. But they had that dreadful program, was it Democracy Now, with that horrible woman on there. She really, listening to her, it's like hearing someone's nail scratching across a blackboard. Just like,
can you remember who it was?
I can't remember her name. No. But she's one of these sort of very liberal democracy sort of, the government is right, but we've got to protest about the American sort of bullshitty things. But I kind of control it.
I'm sure democracy exists, I don't think it's ever existed.
No, it doesn't. It's as I say, I don't believe it. It doesn't work. It's probably the worst situation ever because governments don't run countries. The certain people do. The scammers do, shall we say, who are usuring us, and then the people who run the country got around that all right, didn't I? And the people that run the country are actually the civil service, who are faceless. So why can't we make sure that we have a lean, mean civil service that is there for us? Because you do need a civil service. Yeah, but But
can I actually, how many people are in the chat? Because I've closed down that window, so
30,
I can't see.
35.
35, right? Okay. So as the show's on about frequency, vibration, and things like that, of the 35 people who are in the chat, can I just ask, just out of curiosity, how many people think that you should, as a spiritual person or somebody who considers himself a truther, how many are of the opinion that to be spiritual you need to discard and ignore the negative and the dark side of things? Because this one keeps coming up with me personally, and I massively disagree with that statement. But just out of curiosity, I was wondering if if the chat could kind of give us an idea as to whether they think the dark side and the negative should be ignored, or whether it should be embraced and so that, you know, you look at both sides. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if they can do that for us, but it'd be useful. It'd be interesting.
Do you believe in demons? Do you believe that demons exist?
Yes.
I do. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I asked me when I was about 15 or 16 whether they exist. I laughed and said, nah. But now, yes, very much so. And I do. Yes. And I do believe, going back to what Dave Starbuck says, the frequency that you get out, like attracts like, but you've also got this problem where you've got the lost souls and loose cannons who are attracted to your frequency, who are driven by demons, feed on it. So it's not the person, it's the demon that is feeding off of you, emotionally trying to eat away at your soul, basically. And they can make you aggressive, they can make you angry, they can make you go through all kinds of different mood stages. And I think when you've experienced that, yes, you do get angry, you're human. It is not very nice when you get confronted by somebody who you think is controlled by demons or whatever. And I'm not being like the witchcraft kind of general or anything like that. I'm just talking at it from a logical point of view. I mean, I was talking to, I won't mention his surname, Jerry, who accidentally got me banged about these. And I do believe that when a person is ill, they jump in. And they are feeding off. That's like a feeding frenzy. They feed off of people.
Almost like they're jumping in at somebody's weakness. So if there's a weak point, that's their entry.
That's right. But I mean, if you're empathic, again, this is again going back to the late Dave Starbuck. If you're empathic and you've got this level of frequency, you're going to attract. You're trying to attract the type that is on your frequency, which they are very few and far between. Very few. But you will drag in the frequencies that you don't want because they'll be attracted to you because they're trying to get to a higher frequency but don't realize it. So this is, do you see the part I'm getting at? They will tempt you in. So you've got to be very, very careful. Situation.
It's almost like the higher you climb up, so you claw yourself back up to a level where you're starting to be productive and happy, and you start vibrating at that higher level, and then they'll jump and they'll drag you right back down.
That's
it's almost like they just want to really pull you down.
And they try and bring out negativity in you, or they spread it so that others will spread negativity and drag you around. There's something that I find that the more I look into this, the more I realize that the experiences we have, sometimes negative, are character building and make us wise. Very, very wise. That's, but
actually, I will comment on that, what you've said there. So I just had a text today saying, the new year is going to be great, blah, blah, blah. Just ignore the negative, ignore any bad experiences you've had, just ignore them, forget about them. Well, as much as we'd like to do that at the time we're going through them, the thing is, if we did that, we learn nothing.
Correct.
We're then you cannot see the whole picture if you discard a whole half of it, right? So if you're cutting out all of those character building experiences, whether they're painful, and some of them are, believe me, as you well know, I've gone through one lately.
Yes.
They're painful. However, some people would argue that it's deliberate, it's purposeful, which means that you've got to look at it and say, well, what can I learn from that? If it's a mistake, don't do it again. It allows you to build, it allows you to evolve and progress. And so anybody who's talking about ascending to higher frequencies and higher levels of existence, you've got to consider that those blockades are put there deliberately sometimes, and they are painful, as you know. They
Well,
are, but they can be used to enhance.
unbelievably similar to me, the experience I had, very similar. And also somebody else I know, a very similar experience as well. And it seems to be on the increase. It's very weird.
Especially in, I won't go into that today, obviously. I mean, maybe in a future show we can look at it.
Well, I think we'll have to steer away that from the subject.
Yeah, just for now. But in that particular area, yeah, there does seem to be an increasing number of incidents that are becoming worrying, where actually it shouldn't actually be a problem at all. It's not a problem, and yet new laws and new societal norms are actually creating problems out of nothing, and it's worrying.
Right.
The trend is worrying. But anyway,
it is, and you know that there's one, myself, yourself, 4 people. That's unbelievable. Very similar situations. 4 people. Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
That really is. That is above the. That would be a. There's coincidences. That is beyond a coincidence, I think.
Yeah.
But we got Hatchy says Happy New Year, Rainbow, Uncle Zippy and George. I feel you get tablets for that. Chris, Mr. What's this? Godfrey might have been a very naughty boy. All right. That aside, I'm left with Dick Dastardly's Mutterly. Really? Well, okay, I think you get that as well.
That's a very, very interesting comment there. Thanks.
Yes, it is. I'm just trying to decipher it, but still. Right. And Stig says you can have this temperature. Yes, it's about 10 degrees, 9 degrees here, and it's sort of because I don't know with an island. New Zealand is an island, but it gets the same island weather as we do. Because I worked in Australia, that's Tasmania, and he said this is typical bloody island weather. This is frozen up your arse most of the time, or boiling hot and sweaty, you know. Because he reckons that the weather conditions in this country are the same as Tassie, which is Tasmania. I know I've never been to Tasmania, but that's what he reckons. Anyway.
Well, if you look at it on a globe, and I know that's going to trigger some people, it should be. It's roughly the same climate zone as we are, but in the southern hemisphere. It's kind of it's the same climate zone theoretically. There you go. But the weird thing is, you still get rainforests in that bit.
Yes, and also you get the Tasmanian tiger. Does it still exist? Now there's an interesting. Do you know about the Tasmanian tiger?
A little bit about it, but not enough to say that I know anything about it. You know, I've heard of the Tasmanian tiger and the Tasmanian devil. I know there's a film made about it, but I don't know whether that's completely separate.
I'm not sure there's a name for it. Starts with TH. I can't remember the technical name for it, but he looks like a dog with stripes on his back. Yeah. And what happened? They had one in a zoo. Sorry.
So it's a real animal.
Right. It's a real animal. Yes. And they had one in a zoo in the 1930s. There's a picture of it. Poor little sod looks terribly distressed. You know, it's going back to the boys, and they didn't know that was the last one because they shot them all, killed them all. And it was the Tasmanian tiger, but people still think there's parts of Tasmania that hasn't been explored. It still exists. It's a bit like that parrot in New Zealand that they thought had been wiped out due to pigs, because pigs kept eating its eggs, and it used to nest on the floor because it didn't have any predators. But there's an island off of New Zealand where they're still actually survived. And they're, very strict on who goes there, whether they take a pet pig with them or not. Yes, so that's it. But what we got here, Dan MC, the pit, and I think that's the village people, YMCA. Yes. Okay. Now this is interesting about what we were talking earlier. Chris the Gardener says, "I often smell sulphur, Chris, and many other strange smells. I bet you do in the garden." Oh, we're not talking about that gag that I did at the beginning, are we? The show. Anyway, I put it down to the chemtrailing. It's more prevalent when they hit the skies hard. Yes.
And I have done today, actually. They've really hammered it. In fact, the trails where that usually takes a while to spread out, we've had some massive, just, yeah.
I don't know, because it's been overcast, grey overcast here. Apart from, this is what I find, for about an hour in the morning, you get a beautiful blue sky, and bang, over comes the overcast. About 10, the overcast came over. Because I use an organic clothes dryer. It's called a rotary clothes dryer. I got a clothes dryer. Right, it says here, arsenic. Did it really? Yes. Was it tight trousers? Did it? Or oh, sorry, sorry. Right. Hi ho, Sil.
Well,
Anyone remember the name of Tonto's horse? I thought was it Champion? No, I don't. No, Champion was the I don't know. The best is yet to come. Kimums be loved to all. Is it really? Tonto's horse. I know that.
That's what he used to call a Lone Ranger, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that was it, Harpy. But did you know that the Lone Ranger saw Trigger coming across the prairie with 2 dustbin lids tied to the side of his saddle? He said, "Where you been, Trigger?" He said, "To the dump, dumpster." That's a terrible one.
It was 2 points in there. You missed the first one. Where have you been? I like
that. Right. Hello, Maureen. I hope you both had a good new year, and I hope you did as well. I need to contact, was it Dave who I spoke to? I just remembered today. I thought, bloody hell, he must think I'm an ignorant sod. I need to contact him. And he sent his email as well. Duh. And have him on the show. So please tell him, Maureen, if you could apologise for me, I plead with you to apologise because I'm a shocking pleader, and so I'll contact him either tomorrow or the next day. I'm at a difficult age,
So
I think that is
she couldn't resist.
You have to have all sides to keep it real. Yes. Right. Got to look at both. Right. Not to ignore it, but don't give it too much of your attention. Oh, that's to do with what you were saying. Yes.
Yeah.
And look at both sides. Be prepared to protect yourself and stay alert. Yeah. And then we've got Cat Holly says, life is not all about cotton wool and unicorns. No,
right.
You're right. Yes.
No, I agree. In fact, I think part of the reason we are here is to figure that bit out. It's deliberately not cotton wool and unicorns, as you've said there. Personally, I think.
You think it is when you're a child, because you think that you'll meet the right person, fall in love, and live happily ever after. Really?
Yeah. Well,
really. Constant negative.
Any doubts about that particular? I'm not convinced yet.
Well, as I say, we are going to be consultants in how to find the wrong person. We're genius at it, aren't we? Should be shown. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be conceited, but I'm perfect now, But we can have a consultancy agency. All these stars, these men that can't keep women away from them. So hi, baby. We can tell them how to be on their own.
Yeah, take our advice. You'll be single in no time, mate.
Yes, do what we do.
Do what we do.
Find the drinks of society. Yes, find non-compatible people with us. Are you fed up with finding compatible people? Well, you can find non-compatible.
Oh, it's better than that. Even if you are compatible, we'll find a way.
Go into a room. Is there a loony there? Well, they'll find you. Don't worry. Hello.
You have to charge for the service, of course. I mean, it's an essential.
Yeah.
It's a niche market, but I'm sure we'll get somewhere with it.
I can guarantee if I walked into a room of 199 people, sorry, there's 100 people, 99 are perfectly sane, or one is as nutty as a fruitcake. That one that's as nutty as a fruitcake will be attracted to me.
Yeah, it'll zone. Yeah, that one will zone straight in on you. And,
I got this nutterometer, you see. People don't see
it's
it.
all the frequencies you're sending out, Eric. I keep calling you Eric here. It's all the frequencies you're sending out.
That's right. So,
please apply within.
It's like I was in the cinema once, minding my own business, sitting watching some bloody film. I can't remember what it was, and they just so I shouldn't laugh. It was, and I'm not laughing at people. I feel very sympathetic for people that have got learning difficulties, but I think the people that are looking after the people with learning difficulties were a bit pissed off. I didn't know what to do, so they took them along to the cinema. You see, so and they sat in front of me. So I'm sitting there, and this girl licking an ice cream. She looked round, took a fancy to me. Oh, my ice cream! I shoved it on my nose.
You'd have got kicked out for that, and then you'd have been Twitter stormed. You'd have never heard the end of it now.
This was many years ago, but other people were killing themselves laughing, and I was going as red as a beetroot with embarrassment. See, remember I had my nutterometer on. It's beep, 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 beep.
We need one of those. We need one of those little gauges, you know.
Yes, my nutterometer was on full alert. But the best nutterometer I ever had, they had a time when cinemas were going a bit tits up, excuse my language, they decided to show a lot of old films. And one of them was Sophie's Choice, which 20 years old when I showed it. And it's fine for actors if you want like that type of thing. But there's a woman sitting a few rows back from us who was convinced it was the Sound of Music. I probably told you about this, did I? And she was a bit eccentric and a bit loopy. And she's saying, "Oh, when's the Von Trapp children coming on?" And there's and it's nothing to do with the Sound of Music. "Oh, Tony Andrews is aged a bit, isn't she?" And eventually, but luckily I was far enough away so I could laugh. And she was more entertaining than the bloody film. And the manager came up, told her to shut up politely, because people complain, shut up, you know. And then after a while, she started singing, "I am 16, going on 17. Wrong film, dear.
Are you sure you got the cinema or not? I can't say that. I was going to say a hospital, but
yeah. But you see, I didn't have my nutterometer on. If I'd had my nutterometer on, like this, she'd have sat right next to me, wouldn't she? Beep, 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 you know?
Yeah, well, that does tend. Yeah, even on a like if you sat on a train or a bus, or it doesn't matter where you are, you're always guaranteed to get. Especially if you don't want to talk, if you just want to be left alone, and then the next thing, bang, right next to you, and then they'll start talking to you, and then you'll just think, "Please shut up," and they go on, and you guarantee as well they're going to be on for the full length of the journey, and you're done for. Yeah. So now I'm going to get some T-shirts designed, which is one of them. On the back, it's going to say in very, very small writing, "If you can read this, you're too close. Back the fuck off." That's number one. And another T-shirt, I just need one that says, "Look, sod off before you start."
Precisely.
Straight to the point. Leave me alone.
What gets me though, you see, people don't believe this, but I'm quite introvert, quite shy. And when I'm out, I'm quite sort of into my little world. And I actually think that nutters have this special thing where they can sort out the introverts and the people that don't want to stand out in the crowd. They sort of home in on you. I don't know quite what it is. So
yeah.
I've even had one. I was sitting in the cinema because I always sit. I haven't been to the cinema for years, 20, 30 years. I haven't been there.
You're not
Last
missing
time,
much at the minute.
and I was sitting there, and I always sit on the end of the aisle
Yeah.
near the gangway. That's me. So if you want to,
So you can get out easier, right?
and I'm sitting there, and some bloke who's a bit had a few comes along and sits on me lap. Doesn't realise there's someone sitting there. Oi!
Yeah.
He stung us off, and it's surprising the amount of nutters. I can actually write a book about people that attract nutters.
Yeah, but that would be a bestseller. You wouldn't even need to self-publish for that one. That'd be a bestseller in Waterstones in no time. Guarantee it.
Well, I'm doing one on bullshit, so I might as well do one because I actually personally believe that we've got dictionaries to look up spelling. I mean, you've got spell check. I mean, can't you have bullshit check on the computer? So when you're watching a politician, you just press a button and it does bullshit check. It's just got a high rating.
Is that like an inverted fact checker?
Yeah, that's what.
But essentially, fact checkers, that's what they are. They're bullshit detectors because they find the truth and then they censor it. And there you go. So it's.
But you never see them.
Not that they're censoring it. It's something that actually you need to pay more attention to.
Well, you never see them though. Who are these faceless? Who are they? You know, because when Professor Moss, we got that show taken down. She wanted to know who it was. Was it a professor that took it down? What information they got? She couldn't find that out. You know. Anyway,
just an intern, a 15-year-old doing his job. You know, this is the list of stuff that we don't want people talking about. If you see it, fact check it and make something up. You know.
It was a bit like 1984, where they're all sitting on these rows, I think, in these little cubicles, and they sort of, put stuff into the fire, and they because you got to actually get rid of history. History doesn't exist, and you got to everything is from now, and we've got here. Mark Anthony says, "I do believe it is important to look at the negative as well as the positive in order to understand it and overcome it." It's important to experience the glim. You have to experience the grim to appreciate the glory. That's what that fat old
sorry to interrupt there. Just you say something quite a lot to me, which is calm waters never made good sailor.
No,
is
good
that right?
No, calm sea never made a good captain.
That's the one. Calm sea never made a good captain. So I think that serves as an example to that as well, actually.
Yeah. You look at the people that's had the most toughest of lives, generally the nicest people. Sometimes they get embittered, but they haven't fully learned, but they've had the edges worn off of them, and they appreciate life matter, and they're more giving and they're more kind. Some of the kindest people are the ones that are have been through a lot in their lives, a lot of negativity. It's the spoilt brats I can't stand. I've worked with them. Now we got here. Anyone remember Lenny Henry? Oh God. Yes. So there's a rumor. I think it's a conspiracy theory that he's a comedian. I think it's definitely a conspiracy theory. Although he's a very good straight actor, believe it or not. He actually was part of a chef once. He's quite good. Taking the Michael out of Dr. David Bellamy. Yes. R.I.P. Lenny Henry is now prostituting hotel rooms filled with dinkies and thingy. Yes, what was it? Premier Inn or something, isn't it? Saw it on the internet. Yeah.
He's not even very good at it either. He's nauseating.
Well, I don't know. I think that I think Lenny Henry is a good straight actor, actually. I mean that. He acted part of a chef, and it was bloody good. He really did do it well, very convincing, because he'd learned how to do, stuff. So I think he would go more into straight acting than anything else. Like Dave Allen was good at straight acting. It still annoys when they blame bat suits. Yes. Or just get. Heard of the heard of the Tasmanian devil? Yes. And they said, Dan MC says, half stripe. That's right. Yes. Yes. All you have to do, though, is get a dog, paint stripes on, picture of it, a bit fuzzy, and say, oh, look, I saw one out my backyard. This is South Coast Tricky. Hello, South Coast Tricky. Hi, Eric, Nathan, everyone in chat. I personally think Twitter is due to a lot of blame for increased anger and division. If I look at current affairs, we're exposed to all the horrors on there. I don't actually, I can't really get into Twitter. I never.
No, I've never used it.
Yeah. Next is here.
Yeah.
New species are being discovered every day. That's right. Species. I think there's new species of personally humans. I really do. I think there are different species. But anyway, let's go on. Let's look at the comments back again and look who we've got in chat. Hello, peeps. Just a quick one. Need food. Wood. New year, and I hope to see you all soon. Oh, I hope so. Stay safe, folks. Bless you, Deb. We all miss you here. And if you want any healing or anything like that, just say. Okay. So, right. And yeah, no, you are very, very, very much missed. Now, where we go there? Paul Stubbs. Hi, Nathan. Yes, it is me. Is it me?
Mate.
Hang on. No, it wasn't me. I assure you. It was. That was my chair.
Before you continue, mate, Paul's a personal friend of mine, so he's I'm chuffed to see him on here actually. So he's
that's good because I thought it wasn't me because it's the noise. My chair makes a funny farting noise. So,
well, I'm sure we can. No, this one's not squeaky yet.
However, yesterday between 12 and 1 million of people thought of peace and love. Yes. And remember, we've got to think of what about peace all over Micro Willie as well. You know, Micro Willie is, yeah. And collective consciousness is the answer, like Lords without religion. Yes.
Yeah. So what? Actually, you've mentioned this as well to me, Chris. Is that often sending out. We've talked about manifestation a lot, haven't we? Really, in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
And I seem to be absolutely terrible at it. And when I try and do something, the opposite happens. So anyway, but one of the things that has come to mind is when we're talking about it is the more people that tend to synchronize their will, if you like, in a focused intent en masse, it does seem to have some kind of effect. Now, Mark Devlin's done this a couple of times, especially during the 2021-22 period, more 2021. He would once a month send out a prayer, if you like. So it's like he'd get his audience to zone in at a certain time on a certain day and just say, right, this is what we want to send out into the world. And there did seem to be some actually positive comeback to that. So, maybe when Paul said there about sending out, mass consciousness, sending out will and intent, yeah, that's fantastic. And I actually think we need to do a little experiment with this, if you fancy it at some point.
I do fancy it because I go a little stage further. I said this, I think, a week or two back. And that is, that I have those times when we send healing out to people.
Yes.
Several times people have mentioned they felt a lot better. I mean, look what happened to Miles. He's broken his wrist, and he had there was a bug that was going around. He had the 2 bob bits, and that was on the Monday. And on the Tuesday, we did this healing for him. On the Tuesday, he woke up and he felt a hell of a lot better. And there was a chappie out in, hello, John, and Siam. Hello, mate. Hope it's nice and sunny out there. Better bleeding weather in here, isn't it? And so he's a Fockham expat. You see, he's running the Fockham embassy out there, and salutes to it every day, and Yes, and so he's not a Fockham expat. He's an embassy, Fockham embassy, you see, and and he was feeling a bit down, and we did some hearing things, and I think I'm not sure how many hours ahead they are. I think it's 10
So,
or
so Thailand, did you say?
sorry,
Thailand? Thailand,
Siam,
Siam.
yeah, and
It's about 11 hours, isn't it? 11,
about
I think
11
it's
hours,
11
yeah.
hours.
But he
Yeah.
felt a lot better when we was doing that. So, and there was another occasion when somebody felt a lot better. So I think there's something in it, and I won't let people into something we're planning, but we are planning something. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Won't let them in on it.
It's too soon. I think a fair few people in your audience and your chat will enjoy what we've got coming up.
Yeah.
Take a little while to get set up, but there you go.
Well, that's right. We're working on it, and it will be hopefully something very unique. But we don't want to announce it because the thing is, if you announce what you're going to do, it generally goes pear-shaped or bottom up. So it's best to plan it first, get it done, and then announce it. I think that's what I'd say. Because if you say, I'm going to do that then, I'm going to do that then, and it doesn't have materialised, because when you're planning anything new, you're surprised. It's surprising you sometimes omit to look at the bleeding obvious. Sometimes I found so it's got to be thoroughly planned. So we're going to have lots of experiments. Anyway, experiments on air. You know, Sean Hamer says one of them is a Roman sun worshipper telling me midwinter is the start of the year. Yes, because people believe it's April. April is the start of the year. And of course, you've got the Chinese calendar, which is February, I believe. I don't know what the other ones. Yeah.
Well, March, isn't it? The Roman year used to start in March with the because it was the spring, so it was like the year coming back to life, and you know. So, but they did later change that in the Roman Empire to coincide with what we've got now, apparently, which is the what is typically the death of the sun. They made it the birth of the sun. And so there's a few crossovers there.
Yes, it's interesting because I know that they did their time by sundials. So in the winter, an hour was 40 minutes, and in the summer it was a full hour. So it's a shorter hour in the winter. But now this is interesting. It's difficult being positive. This is only bad when you live with a negative spouse. I had a negative girlfriend once because I had my sort of I had the ometer working very, so I tracked it. So I had that working full blast, and it just got me down because she didn't have a sense of humour either. So every time I came out with a gag, the touched up look sort of. I was thinking Christmas Day. Think of the amount of people that are with a spouse that don't get on with, or with a partner they don't get on with. And when you look at it from that point of view, you're bleeding lucky being on your own sometimes because you think, well, but the trouble is it can make you selfish. You do what you want when you want. And
yeah, but is it selfish if you're doing what you want when you want on your time and it's not affecting anybody else? I wouldn't call that selfish. I would call it efficiency.
Yeah, possibly. But isn't it nice to share things with somebody sometimes? Because I remember, I think it was this year earlier, I was cycling through the Lee Valley, and it was like, I call it a Hollywood day. You got the sun shining through the trees, glinting off the lakes, and you're cycling along. You get a days like that, don't you, where you think, perfect. Then I stopped, looked around, I thought, I'm the only person around here, and it'd be lovely to share this with someone. Just say, just look at it. It's the sharing part, which is part of being a human, being, alive, sort of thing. But the only person I could share it with was myself. And my vacuum flask. I spoke to the vacuum flask. What do you think of this? Yeah. Because people think I'm nutty because I speak to the birds in my garden. Is Eric?
What type of birds, though? That's the problem, isn't it?
Yes, the pigeon. Well, yeah, but they're friendly enough. I think it's because I freed them. Right. Now we got here. In your opinion, are the trails, this is South Coast tricky, trails designed to spread unhealthy substances or to influence the weather, or both? If weather related, can they influence both precipitation and temperature? I don't know. I really don't know.
Leave that on, because I'll tell you my opinion of this is I think it's multifaceted. I think they wouldn't be doing it if it was just one single purpose. It's too expensive. So I think one, they're literally geoengineering. They're what's it, terraforming. Now, what you can read into that however you like. I think they're spraying chemicals on us for a number of reasons. I mean, apparently one of the things in there is lithium. And lithium is used to treat mental health, so it makes you more subservient, more relaxed, put you in a more compliant state. Then you've got barium and strontium, which apparently are toxic chemicals. I'm not entirely sure what they do. There's a number of things, but if you look at what happens to the sky when they spray, it takes about 2 or 3 hours, and the place is just covered in a blanket. It's a blanket cloud, unless it's either extremely windy, in which case it doesn't seem to take effect as quickly, or I don't know. So sometimes when they do it, it seems to be you'll get a grey trail. So I think they use different types, but I think it's multi-purposes, and I think they can cause rain within 2 or 3 hours. There's loads of stuff they're doing with it.
But I noticed the light levels are so low at the moment, because I mean I've got a solar charger on my car. So I haven't got an electric car. It's just a smart car eats batteries because the electronics on it are just battery hungry. Whereas my old Carina, which is 1989, sits there and it doesn't eat batteries at all. I've had the same battery on it for 5 years and it's still doing well. But so I have to have a solar charger because I don't this time of the year I don't really use it. Summer I don't use it that much, but it's the winter. You leave it for over a week, don't use it for over a week, then the battery. So I've got the solar charger, and there's hardly anything coming on it today. It was so dull, and I noticed that this morning there's a blue sky with white fluffy clouds in the sky, and suddenly this cloud came over, and it was like it's like bonfire smoke. It was just sort of coming over underneath the white puffy clouds and the normal cumulus and all that sort of normal clouds.
Yeah,
it's odd. It really was, But
anyway, sometimes there's a straight line of cloud. It's bizarre. I mean, how nobody, well, people do obviously see it, but in terms of Normiville, when you say it to them, they look at you as if you're an alien. Don't be silly. It's not. It's just from it. No, look at the skies every day, whenever you get the chance, and you'll see some weird stuff up there. But a lot of the time, when they bring in these blanket clouds, there's a straight line, just one big massive straight line. So you've got blue sky there, and then you've got this neon grey. I can't describe it any other way. This thick, heavy, dull shite, and it just comes in like that, and it covers. It's bizarre the way that it happens.
And also on a still day, it still comes in. I noticed it comes across because I mean today it was absolutely still as anything. I went up the garden, and all of a sudden, a gust of wind starts. It's as if someone had flipped a switch. The wind starts. But
it's the Matrix time with you.
That's it. People will call you negative, this is Sean Hamer, for telling them things they don't want to hear. Desire and aversion are one thing. Attachment. Yes.
Absolutely, bang. I like that, actually. I really like what he said there.
Yes. Mark Hadji says, Mark Devlin did a wonderful New Year Eve blog. Whatever, respect to him. Yes, he's very good. Then we've got here, in New Year message showed just how clueless I suppose King Charles. I still keep calling him Prince. And, I might get my head chopped off for that. He's talking about truth vibrations and galactic energy shifts is what Blavatsky's baboons constantly push. No evidence for any of it. Interesting.
I've not watched it, so I'll have a watch of his New Year show just to see what he means by that. But I know Mark very well, and I'm assuming this is to do with Mark's show. I can tell you that he's certainly not clueless. He's like a lot of us, where he questions everything and he's got a massively open mind. But he does tend to he desperately wants something good to come of this. Now, I'm not saying he trusts in it or believes in it, but he's trying to put it out there to encourage some kind of positivity to come in. Again, without watching the show, I don't really want to comment too much on that. But in terms of truth vibrations and galactic shifts and stuff like that, I think there's something to it.
Yes.
I don't know.
Do you walk in? Can you walk? I mean, I can walk into it somewhere and find you can sense the energy in a place, negative or positive energy. And a place that I found really creepy was Shaw's Corner in Hertfordshire, where George Bernard Shaw lived. And I went there many years. I couldn't wait to get away from the place. It was so negative. There was something about that. Oh, I don't like it. And I actually go into buildings and feel that. And I also find that not listening to my gut feeling. My gut feeling over about a year ago was saying, get away, get away, get away, get away. I was saying, oh, no. I overrode my gut feeling. My gut feeling was right. And I also think that our ancestors are sometimes advising us. I think Lenny Henry's part of the problem, Chris. But yes, I agree with you.
No, I agree with yeah. Yes. Well, just Chris the Gardener there. Are you? I watch a lot of YouTube videos, so I keep up with a lot of TV in the first place. But the new Lord of the Rings that Amazon's done, Lenny Henry took a part in it. That's equivalent to the whole Gandalf character, and it's just bloody creepy. It's the worst. God, don't watch it. If anyone's watched the Amazon Lord of the Rings, God help you, you need an exorcist to get that out of your mind. But it's just Lenny Henry's creepy in it.
I know what you mean.
He's very creepy.
People, I mean, I've gone against my gut feelings, and I do believe that our ancestors are guiding us, because all the time I could hear my grandfather, even though he died before I was born, saying, trust no one, trust no one, trust no one. And I woke up, trust no one. And then I sort of was thinking, and it's surprising, I do think we do have guardian angels over us. I really do. And I think a guardian angel helps you. It's helped me. I think it's helped a couple of other people I know. I really do believe we have that. And but we can't see it at the time. I really do. I think it has, and I think things happen in our lives to make us much wiser. And I'm much wiser now, and I'm less trusting than I used to be. In a good way, not a bad way. I did become extremely non-trusting to people, but I think I can sum people up very much quicker now, very much quicker. My
again, that comes with the experiences that you've had. That some would say negative, but that's helped you now. So that has helped you to become wiser and to become more discerning. So that's a good thing in the long term.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yes. But now this is interesting. Film star Errol Flynn, Tasmanian born, apparently his father was the scientist with the last of the Tasmanian tigers on film research. Oh, that's interesting. And we got here, it's the trauma that forges the sensitivity to the bigger picture. That's why they are the most attuned and able to respond naturally to instinct. Yes. I mean, you look at these hunters that are in the jungles or wherever, Africa or wherever, they are so tuned in. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for the Kalahari Bushmen, because, boy, what they do to get food. And they had some athletes with them, and these athletes were really puny with them. These fellas, midday sun, were running along, and as the athletes going and collapsing, and these Kalahari Bushmen looking around thinking, bloody hell, we're just getting warmed up, you know. But they will actually hunt an animal and wear it out, tire it down. The energy those blokes have got is absolutely unbelievable. And there was a documentary many years ago where they had a group of Aborigines against the Australian Army, and they had to do this course from one point to another point. And a television bloke went with the Aborigines, another reporter went with the Australian Army. And after the first day, the Australian Army, they're living on tinned rations. They got foot problems. They've got sores on their feet because of the boots and all that. And they're sort of massaging their feet because they've got these army boots and that. They're getting their, all their army stuff out. Meanwhile, the Aborigines, before they started, there's all the Australian Army blokes all getting all their kit together. And there's the Aborigines pissing about, throwing their boomerangs. And the reporter says, oh dear, I think I made a mistake. Are they taking this seriously? We're going to go into the desert and he's getting the shit, basically. We're thinking, survive? Well, they go into the desert. And yes, they do. The Aborigines know how to get water. And at the end of the day, the reporter says, I made a mistake. I've come with the right people. He's got fresh meat. He's got this, that. But anyway, they started going off course, the Aborigines, and went in the complete wrong direction. And they said something. They said, we've done this to show you that life is not going from there to there, the strict routine. It's enjoying the journey. And it's incredible moral, something like that, not fully. It was a brilliant moral. And they brought this reporter to a lake or a small sort of oasis that very few people know. And he felt quite honoured that they'd shown him this place where few people know about. And he said, I have to say, their way they put it over, their philosophy, is far superior to that of the Australian Army. And it was quite an amazing, it really made me think, this documentary. I've tried to find it on YouTube, I haven't. It's brilliant, it really is, because it just goes to show who is the most advanced philosophically, the Aborigine or the Australian Army. No, it's the Aborigine. They're really clued up. They really were, these fellas, you know. I mean, they can speak fluent English. They're brought up, you know. I think one of them was a university fellow, you know. But the thing is, with the Aborigines, a lot of them still go walkabout, you know, and they might work as a teacher or something, or they work, you know. I worked with a chap who lived in Australia a long time, and he said, yes, the Aborigines are fantastic. But he said they go walkabout. They disappear for a time just to get back to nature. And then they come back into civilization again. Something to be said for that, you know. But
well, they've got something. The dream time, I think, isn't it, where they take time out to experiment with the mind, psychedelics and things like that, and you know, try and meet the gods. I'm not so clued up with Aboriginal belief systems, but
well, I know that there was a gliding championship or something. They wanted to see a special cloud. There's a certain cloud that forms in Australia, and they also had this gliding championship, and the weather wasn't right. And this Aboriginal woman, she did this strange chant, and then people are going. The next time the weather was correct. They said this is a miracle. But she had the change, but she did this chant. Right. I've got a lot of respect for them, I have to admit. They, you know, and I feel sorry for how they've gone to alcohol and things like that, because they're not living in their natural habitat. And I believe that, you know, they survive for thousands of years. And this chap, he was English, but he lived in Australia a long time. And he said he read it was sad as well. He was saying that they're really nice people, but he said, I can see their culture has just been destroyed, and that's why they contact alcohol, because they've got nothing else to really live for in many ways. It's sad. It really is, you know.
Well, their way of life's been taken from them, hasn't it?
Well, that's right. That's right. There's also an Alan Wicker program, which I think that is on YouTube. He did a series of programs from Australia in the late 50s. And he spoke to, there's a certain name, not hobo, that's American, certain name they have for these men who in the 30s was looking for work and got so fed up he went to live with the Aborigines.
All right.
And he had an Aborigine wife. And he was explaining how different life was with the Aborigines. And he was explaining that when the first prisoners were released and went to Australia, the ones that escaped, they'll come across Aborigine tribes, and the Aborigine tribes would care for them and adopt them into their tribe. They weren't hostile at all. And he said that's why you get a lot of Aborigine tribes with people that are not quite as dark. They have a European look about them because the amount of European prisoners that escaped. Yes, it's quite. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say that it's been wet lately down here on the south coast, but it's been wetter than a stag. A stag. Now, someone like your Kaz Bar says, Nathan, with the good hair. What about my hair? I mean, it was nice before.
Yeah, I've got plenty of this stuff. You can have some.
Oh, I used to have my hair down to my shoulders. Actually, and then I started going bald. But no, I if I wasn't bald, I'd have long hair. Now, I really would. I think I prefer long hair. You know. But,
Well, I'm just trying to get into the whole Lord of the Rings spirit. You know, the Viking spirit, maybe. I used to have the Viking plait, but I dyed it green stupidly, and my hair started falling out. So I had to shave it off and start again. So here it is. So actually, Kaz, I think I'm familiar with Kaz as well. If it's the one I'm thinking of, she's part of Truth Seekers. The Truth Seekers crowd. So hello.
Well, I'm not bald. I've just got a wide central parting. That's all. It's a very wide central parting. See, I'm not bald.
It's cultured. It's aged. It's
Yeah. See, where most people have a parting about that wide, my parting is that wide. It's a sort of a fashion statement, you know. Believe that bullshit. Believe anything. Right. This is Chris the Gunner. I'm lucky I found my first true love at 38 years old. I had to endure a fair share of crap, kissing frogs and things, before I met Jess. We are not in a perfect relationship, but we have laughed every single day together. That's right. There's an old saying, what is it? You'll never get a perfect relationship, but you're actually looking for your twin of the opposite sex. So you're looking for a twin of yourself in many ways, but no relationship is perfect. What is it they say? One wears the trousers and the other is bored, or something like that. There's nothing saying. Or one is the boss and the other one is bored. I don't know.
But you've got the master and the subservient. I don't want to call it servant, but I suppose somebody's got to wear trousers, and traditionally it's the man. But I have noticed that actually that might not be the case as much as we think it is, because once the relationship's established, the women are firmly in control. So.
Well, look at the Banforth cards. Remember, have you ever seen the Banforth cards where you got a cartoon of a great big woman and a little tiny bloke? You know, it's like the joke about heaven. You see, and there's there's one door and it says, "Queue here, all men that have been bullied by their wives." It's a bloody great queue. Queue here, all men that haven't been bullied by their wives. And St. Peter comes out. There's this little bloke sitting there. He says, "What are you doing here?" He said, "What are you standing here for?" He said, "Well, my wife told me to." Sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Right. Deborah Singleton. Right. Forgive my ignorance. Have you an auntie called Valerie that used to present Blue Peter? I saw a picture of Valerie Singleton. She still looks quite youthful, even she's in her, I think, her 80s now. BBC with a man called no, that was Noakes, wasn't it? Not Oakes. Oops, I mean Noakes. Had a dog called Shep. Get down, Shep. Yes, I remember Blue Peter. And he went up Nelson's column with a ladder, no safety harness, and flared trousers. And if it's on YouTube, look up Chris Noakes, Nelson's column, Blue Peter, and you'll be. And apparently they filmed it, and something went wrong, and they had to film it again. God. And there he's going up his ladder, Nelson's column, with no safety harness at all, and flared trousers in the 70s.
It would have been truly entertaining if he'd have fallen off. I mean, that would have been terrible.
Yeah. But, I would have just. I mean, I felt a bit queasy going up about 4 steps, you know. And Kaz has said, ionized skies. Yes. South Coast Tricky says, I'm an open-minded and sometimes doubting Christian, but I suppose that makes me spiritual to doubt to an extent. I'm also interested in spirituality and the paranormal, but not sensitive to it. And continues.
Well, it's continued there, so yeah.
I'm unsure about delving into evil and dark things, but I think it's almost impossible to avoid. Greater knowledge is beneficial on the whole, but I sometimes wonder if it's wrong and dangerous. Well, I mean, I'm not religious, but I do believe there's an energy that I respect. I don't know what that energy is, but I respect it. And I mean, when you see these Catholic priests going in, doing an exorcism, and there's films of it, and not the actual film with Gregory Peck. I'm not talking about that one, The Exorcist. I'm talking about actual documentary films of it. The people couldn't be acting, put it on. You could see it's real. They're definitely getting something out of them. There's definitely something there. I really do. It's quite. Those blokes are they're quite brave, actually. It's it. They're really sort of pushing this evil or whatever it is. But there was a chap that said that he died on an operating theatre, isn't it? He died on the operating, and he died, and they brought him back. And as he was drifting up, went up through the ceiling. He went over a pub, and he said he saw a load of demons queuing up, waiting for people to get drunk to go into them. And then he was pushed straight back again because the people in the operating theatre, I don't know, they brought him back to life. So that's quite interesting, you know.
So where do you say that was? What was that from?
That was Mark Windows mentioned, and he was on his. Yeah, he said that on his. No, he didn't happen to him. He was telling about another person.
Yeah.
And he said this chap died on their operating theatre, and he actually did officially die. The old thing where is it the oscilloscope? And then they brought him back to life, you know, and he jolted back and he got straight back in his body again. But he said as he was drifting up, he could see these lines of demons queuing up, waiting for people to get drunk. So that's quite an interesting.
Just before you go on to the next comment, one thing you said there about being an open-minded Christian. I've got a couple of friends who are still Christian. One in particular has been questioning it for a while now, and he seems to want to. He wants to desperately hold on to it, but he's finding out there's problems with it. And so one of the things that I would suggest is for anybody who's well, as you say, they're sometimes doubting. There is a central core of truth to Christianity. Unfortunately, it's not the version that you've been presented with. If you look at something called esoteric Christianity, that might sort them doubts out for you. And it's not biblical. Well, not entirely anyway. You might find it useful. So
That's
esoteric
interesting. That's interesting. Now, Kat, I'm going to jump a few here. Says something very interesting. New Sea Age is bad news. Blavatsky, Bailey, and all that crew were tied up with the UN and Robert Mueller to push this tripe on the masses. Thanks for that.
I'm sure Paul in the group there would agree with that. Actually, But that's not to say throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because they may have been part of certain societies and pushing certain agendas doesn't mean that everything that's in their books is incorrect. Just bear that in mind.
I often wonder whether people come up with things and they're hijacked along the way, and they're being used without them really being realised they're being used in many ways, because this is how they sort of get in on these, you know. But this is interesting. I wonder what military aspect it achieves. I guess this is to do with chemtrails. Something to do with scanning, cloaking, or radar jamming, electric type warfare, maybe. Well, I have heard it's something to do with radar and things like that. But I really don't know. You know. Now, got here to be curious on such things. Some subjects on the paranormal channels I avoid, as I'm unsure that it's right to watch it. For example, encouraging demons, etc. Yes. You see, I actually think that something evil has actually got in to our society. I think that psychopaths are a different breed, and they're different to us. They think differently, and as such, we've got to treat them like crocodiles. The crocodile has a right to live on this planet, but not in our house and not with us. We separate crocodiles from us because they would look on us as food. The same way as a psychopath looks us not necessarily as edible food, but as fodder for their manipulative skills. So if we separate, to destroy them is the wrong thing to do. We don't destroy a crocodile because it snaps up, because it's doing what it does naturally. A psychopath is at the top of industry, destroying people because it's doing what it does naturally. It's come naturally to it. So we put them on an island on their own where they can do whatever they like to each other. But we make sure they keep on that island. And I think that's the most humane. And I mean, have an island with infrastructure, everything like that. But that's the most humane thing to do, to identify them, do a brain scan, because they can always tell if the frontal lobe is missing that. If they're predatory ones, some psychopaths don't harm humans, some do. The predatory ones, we put them safely away from us, keep them away from us. It's humane, they can see their families, but keep them away from us. Simple as that, basically. You know.
It's funny it was that easy, though. I mean,
yes.
That was interesting.
Sorry?
No, this comment here, he's never watched anything on Netflix.
I've never watched anything on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Edward Benet's nephew.
It is run by Edward Benet's nephew. Yes. That's interesting. But I've never watched anything on Netflix. The only thing I'd like to see on Netflix is All Quiet on the Western Front. I've seen parts of it on YouTube, and what I have seen is absolutely unbelievable. You feel you're there. The acting is stunning. They've really done a good job of it. And I know it's CGI and a lot of things like that, but bloody hell, you really feel you're there. You see him running along, you know, and you think, bloody hell. Because
well, actually, in terms of say John Hamer, I watched the Netflix version with John. And he said it was good. You know, he said it was all right, but it's not a patch on the original. Now, I've never seen the original, but I have watched the one that you're on about there, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It had a crap ending. Well, for anybody who's watched the original, I think that they already knew that anyway. But the ending was terrible, but not because of bad acting or anything, just because the story was just, you know. But I thought it was worth watching anyway.
When you say the original, there was the All Quiet on the Western Front made in the 30s, which is the one I've seen. Right. Then there was one made in the 70s, which was, I have to admit, a Hollywood crappy version, and that was really crap.
I think you might be on about the original.
The very original one was very well made for its time. There's a few sort of silly bits in it where they get a plane trying to drop a bomb on a bloke. I don't think they were wasting bombs on one person, you know.
You would totally waste all the ammunition. Yeah.
But I think we won't say the ending, but the ending is there as a moral compass sort of thing.
Oh, it hits you. It's like the end of the Blackadder in a way. It just hits you really hard. And it's shows the futility in a lot of cases.
Oh, it is. It is. Wars are fought by forgotten heroes for lost causes. They always have done.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? Who gives a shit now about the heroes of the Boer War, the Crimean War, First World War? You know, I mean, you look at their grave. Near where I live, there's a beautiful. I'm glad they've done it. It's a beautiful memorial to Lieutenant Ellis. And in World War II, his plane was badly shot up, and he stayed on board, him and his crew, and they steered it away from a built-up area, and all got killed. When you look at their ages, 19, 22, 20, they're kids. They haven't had a life. And this is why when people say, oh, I'm getting old and things like that, say that's a privilege. Because when you think of those kids that got killed, terrible deaths in war, 19 and 20, you're privileged to live over 40, basically, you know, or into your 30s, because that generation, the First World War generation and the Second World War generation, what was a huge cull of the male population, massive cull, you know, and you know, but let's. I'm going into an area where I would have to go on the naughty channel, BitChute, to speak any more about that, because you know,
Maybe exclusive for BitChute then.
That's right. Yes, yes. Now, this is Chris the gardener. That's really nice that you and your partner laugh together every day. I think my current girlfriend wouldn't put up with me if I lived closer to her. I'm older, but more childish. A lot of couples live apart. Look at that, Richard Vobes and his girlfriend. They live apart. Trusting comment, Sean Hamer. This is interesting. Trusting comment. Allegedly, I'll add that in, like is a failed litmus test for easily led dummies who practice zero scrutiny and skepticism, selling Blavatsky's debunked work on Wogan is not truth telling.
Interesting. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So
I personally think.
fun.
I think David Icke has my personal view. His heart's in the right place, but he's been used by the establishment and abused by the establishment. Without
I don't know that either, to be fair. I mean, I know a lot of people have said to me that he's a shill and he's part of the system. And, well, look, let's assume that's the case, and I don't think it is. But let's assume that he is a shill and he's being played by the system. How many people have woken up to what's going on in the world because of Ike, because of what is said, even if it's not him directly? Look at the information that he's brought to people. So whether he's a shill or not, you've got to admire the fact that a lot of this awakening would never have taken place without him. So again, like, I'm a fan. I don't judge if people don't like him. That's fine. I know somebody else in the audience there is not a fan either. That's absolutely fine. Personally, I like his stuff.
I think his heart's in the right place. I think his heart is definitely in the right place, you know. And it's sad that he's lost his daughter recently. That's very, very sad. Sorry to hear that. And my condolences to him. Truth-tainment has celebrities now. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
I found it embarrassingly cringy. I find it very cringy, very embarrassing that we've got this sort of situation.
Well, what's worth about what, you know, truth-tainment, I like that. But the let's say truther celebrities, a lot of them are definitely leading people down the garden path and into the wrong direction. Especially ones that promote certain psyops, and I won't go into that at the minute. But there's a lot of people up there that are doing arguably more damage than good in the long term. But yeah, again.
Well, I think people are looking for a leader. That's the problem. And they're easily led. And I've often said to people, if you want to find a leader, just look in the mirror. Just simply look in the mirror, because it's easy to get someone to think for you. I vote for this government, that government, because they're going to do this, they're going to do that for you. But you try to get that over to people. And I think that having government is making people more irresponsible. Because what happened in Argentina, when they went, the currency went bankrupt, I think in 1990, things started to work. because someone went along with the bolt cutters to the local council, went, boom, opened the gate, got the motor roller out, and decided to tarmac and repair the road. And the neighbours helped out, and things started to get done. People paid for their own private police. People paid for tutors, and the children were better educated then before. And then people started to take responsibility for their environment, for their where they lived. They took civic pride, and other people started planting flowers and that because they didn't have anybody, Big Brother, come along saying you can't plant flowers here because it's a roundabout or things like that. And that's right, health and safety. And then what happened? The International Monetary Fund thought, oh bloody hell, shit! People starting to find out, and they pumped loads and loads of money in to bail the country out. But really, when you think about it, yes, there's a lot of bad things that went on. The crime did go up a bit, but then people looked out for each other. People were saying hello to each other for the first time. Apparently, it was 2 o'clock every day. People with pots and pans would bang on the walls of the banks. But
we've seen some bizarre stuff in the last couple of years, haven't we?
Right. But this is interesting. Did I read this out? Aboriginal Dreamtime healing is done outside space and time.
I'd love to know more about this, actually.
Yeah.
The Aboriginal Dreamtime.
Yes, it is quite something. And I think this is why I believe there's an energy that if we know how to tap into that energy, it can do good. And this is why I'm very much into Chinese type things and Buddhism. I don't know a lot about it. It's very interesting, and I'll tell you what I like about these people like Buddhists. They're incredibly calm through any situation. They're smart. That calmness and sereneness is just something I aim for. I think there's something about it where they're just peaceful. They are sending out a good vibration. And do you find when you got with this sensitivity thing, a person with a bad aura, when they come up near you, sort of, you can sense that aura around them. And I know that the New Zealand Maoris, they used to go up to someone, sense their aura, and sort of before they rub noses, they sort of went, and sort of suss them out. And I know there are people with very bad aura around, bad energy, and there's good energy and things like that.
I do. In answer to your question, there, I do. Yeah, there is a way of doing that, and you usually find that you have to be around them for a little while, just to make sure that what you're picking up on is correct. But yeah, I know a couple of people, and I won't mention names, that it's some of them are like it's like thick, heavy, dark energy surrounds them, and yet they think they're all love and light. And I'm thinking, yeah, but your actions and your behaviors and the words that you use into it's not. You're quite the opposite. So yeah, it's sometimes I'm not the best at picking up people's energies and auras and things like that. But when you do pick up on it, especially when it's an extreme case, it can be frightening sometimes.
People can frighten you. See, the thing is, we are the results of our parents. And if you've had a narcissist parent, then, for example, as I've often said, if I'm in a situation where a dangerous situation, I go into a kind of auto mode because that's what kept me sane. Well, that's for other people to judge whether I'm sane or not. But
you have to be insane just to get by these days.
That's right, and that's the thing. And but that's another subject. Your parents and things like that, because we can always condemn our parents. Yes, no one's perfect, but there's also certain things that mould your life. That up to the age of 7, that can actually upset your mind and things like that. And often that can affect you later on, but that's another subject. That's pretty heavy as well.
That's potentially a massive one, actually. But yeah.
Well, that's right. It's if you've, as I say, if you had a parents. Well, we won't go into that this stage. But anyway, South Coast. This is Krista Gardner. Both of us were blissfully happy and single. I'd vowed to never get into a relationship again after the one before her. Yeah. Oh, we can write a book about that. Sometimes life pushes you towards something. I went with the flow. Yes, I went with the flow and ended up down in sewer.
You've gone the wrong way.
Yeah. I think you know as well. We would go into a room, say, of 98 normal females, and 2 completely bonkers, and one would find me and one would find you. Hello.
Yeah. And we both end up worse for it as well.
I've got a nuclear bomb in my pocket or my handbag.
Yeah, I'm just going to head out for a second. Yeah, I might not return though.
Do you know, there's signs in life, some situations in life, where I'd love to say, "Beam me up, Scotty."
Yeah,
and that was in court. A bloke in the 80s, apparently. Judge says, "Before I pass sentence, have you anything to say?" And he just said, "Beam me up, Scotty." Right, we've got Ancient Ruby. Hello, Ancient Ruby. Good evening. Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year to you, Ancient Ruby. And we wish everybody.
I like the picture.
Sorry?
I like the picture of the plough. Is it the plough, Big Dipper?
Yes, it does look like the plough, isn't it? They're nice. Now, this is interesting. The gullible masses will embrace our false, yes, resistance, and our real enemies will reveal themselves to us. If more, their words at your peril. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because it's in their interest to divide us, isn't it? So whilst people are being suspicious of each other, and this leads us on to the frequency thing, and I think there's something happened where people are over suspicious of other people. Yeah. So that's for another program. Although perhaps not for another program, no. But it's funny, that people are over suspicious. Now it says here, baby truthers were unleashed because they I believe, and those people need herded into a new matrix by the alt gurus.
Yes. Yeah, we need actually. Do you know what? This would be a fascinating one to cover, just in and of itself. Let's say false spirituality, false truthers, because there is a false truth movement as well as a real one. I think there's a lot in that. Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree. There's an Indian geezer, I won't say his name because he's got better lawyers, and he's so fake, it's absolutely unbelievable. And he's seen at the World Economic Forum.
No red flags there at all, then. No,
not at all. He's one of the boys. He is. My personal experience of life, this is Ancient Ruby, on Earth has given me truth that all religion is misleading, just wrong. It's a means of control.
Yes,
I believe it's a means of control.
I think there's a grain of truth in all religions. I think there's a central core, but yeah, there's not one religion that I would trust at all.
Well, I knew a girl who was an anthropologist, and when you look at some of these tribes, and there's tribes with leaders tend to be aggressive, and ones without leaders tend to be not aggressive, but they have morality as well. And there was a anthropologist who wrote a book, Fierce People, and he said these people, this tribe they went to, the Amazon, they walk around with their meat and 2 veg swinging in the breeze, not a thing on. But he said he never once saw them going to the lavatory or having sex. Never. And he said they were very respectful of their children as well. Their children didn't say nasty things in front of their children. He said they had a sort of like a moral. even though they're the most worst bleeding savages you could ever wish to meet. But they still had this sort of morality where you never saw them having sex, you never saw them go to the lavatory. It's weird, isn't it? It's strange.
So, okay.
They probably had a dolly cart though. Sorry, no more fart jokes. By the way, that fart joke at the beginning of the show is the last fart joke for a few weeks.
He's lying, don't believe him.
Now, John Hamer is coming to Truth Seekers Northeast on the 17th of January. That's not a plug, Maureen, is it? No.
Not at all. No.
That'll be 6 fuck bobs, all right?
You have to print more than you have to do with the rock. I can't mention that. You have to print some more on.
So, Truth Seekers Northeast, 17th of January. So that's all right then.
Actually, do you know what? I'm gonna assist Maureen with her plug here. Do you know what? She does put very, very good events on, and for anyone who can get to them, it's very well worth it. So, you know, if you can get there, I think it's still Walkerville where she puts the talks on, and you know, she gets some big names in our particular interest areas. Very much worth going if you can get there.
I think it's a bit north of the Watford Gap, isn't it? I think where she is. Is it slightly? Is it beyond Hertfordshire? That's the question. Because anywhere outside Hertfordshire is a bit of a mystery land for me. You know, I mean, I want.
All I can say is it's Newcastle and it's a load of fun there, but that's about as much as I can tell you with not living there. So.
The only thing about Newcastle is Newcastle, was it Brown Ale or something they had? Oh, I sometimes, if my passport's in order, I sometimes wander over to Essex, but that's only if the passport's in order.
Well, that's your namesake there. You've got it, you know.
Now, this is an interesting one. Chris, being bald myself. No, I'm not bald. I've got a wide parting. I keep telling people. It's not bald, it's just wide. That's it. By myself, apparently the NHS.
The microaggression. You're that's terrible. So how can you live with yourself now?
For all sorts these days. Now I've been married 3 times. Bloody hell. Can you honestly? I mean, can you imagine a syrup on me? Hello. Nah.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I would never do it. I mean, a syrup just to me. There was a bloke. What's it now? I used to work in the City of London, not in banks or anything. I was working on a architectural project there, and there was a bloke I used to see every morning and he must have been a banker with a B. Very smartly dressed, and he had a syrup that looked like a dead rat on his head. He's walking along. You can see this big thing moving on his head. But, yeah. Apparently, Terry Butler bought syrup, didn't he? You know, so there we go. Now, Kaz Bar said, Eric, All Quiet on the Western Front is amazing. Yeah, what I've seen of it, I'm very impressed with it. I'll tell you another film, a war film that does it for me, is Das Boot. That film was absolutely unbelievable, and the acting in it was superb. And they reckon that when that film, after it was made, there was a lot of U-boat commanders still alive, and they said to the bloke who acted the part of the captain, they said, you could be a commander of our U-boat anytime. But apparently that was the closest. And when they crash dived, I didn't know that the bolts exploded inside the U-boat. Can you imagine that? I mean, I'm slightly claustrophobic, so you can imagine. Right, well, that brings us up to time, doesn't it? And it gives you the time when I start to waffle on and try and find the end bit so that I can do the end zone. I always get the wrong one, don't I? Where is it? Is it? Oh, here it is. Well, thanks, Nathan, for joining us tonight. It's New Year's Day, as they say. And next week, Ben's coming on.
Hey.
And Beyond the Twilight Zone. Imagine if you could. That's, of course, YouTube permitting. If they haven't said, you've been a naughty boy, you said tit and bum, and that's against our standards. So you slap. I mean, they should give you the option where you could go along to this place and get a slap wrist and then carry on broadcasting. You could go in there and you could bend over and get that boy, how dare you say naughty things on our channel, and then you could go and carry on broadcasting. You could give you a choice. Sounds a bit kinky.
Called BBC, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I felt like I felt like being back at school when they gave me that ban. Seriously, I really did. Against our standards, as if a child. Come on. Anyway.
Yeah, you're not. But then, as far as I'm aware, nobody actually knows what their terms of conduct are. They don't give you a list of things that you're not allowed to say, apparently. So how are you supposed to know what you can and can't say? What is their terms? And
Well, that's right. Apparently, I can't. I think it's accent discrimination, because I've noticed loads of people saying stuff that I've been banned for and getting away with it, but I can't say it. But, anyway, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thanks, Nathan von Uncle Klaus.
Von Uncle Klaus. You will be happy, and you will own nothing.
Yeah, okay, yes, he
wants us to be happy.
Yes, remember, let us all peace all over him. Peace over Micro Willie as well. So there we go.
Oh, enough about Billy. He is creepy. I wouldn't take him as a family member. Oops.
Why don't people take the piss out of them more? This is the trouble. Those people are centers of humour. We should laugh our bloody heads off at them. They're funny, but well. Anyway.
Do you know, actually, one of the best things I've ever heard anybody say about Uncle Billy? Somebody asked Mark Passio, if anyone's familiar, what would you say to Uncle Billy if you got the chance to meet him face to face? And the best reaction I've ever heard is, your mum and your dad did a number on you. Your mother and your father did a number on you. In other words, you've been traumatized by your parents. And I thought it's a nice way of putting it. That.
Well,
without starting to,
I'd say to him, I didn't believe in birth control until I met you.
He's going to have birth control then.
But no, I mean, these people are really bloody creepy. I mean, can you imagine being trapped in a lift with him? No.
Well, saying that, I would not Billy. I don't think I could get along with him too well. But certain of them, I would love to have a conversation with them. And I mean, a lot of truth is going to get triggered by this. But if you sat Uncle Klaus next to me, I'd love to have a chat with him. Seriously, it's civilized. Yeah.
But you might sort of go, oh, sorry, I forgot myself. Oh. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight, Nathan. And thank you, everybody in chat and YouTube allowing. See you next Monday with Ben with Beyond the Twilight Zone. And Ben always has something interesting, going to bring something interesting to the table. So it just leaves me to say, Nathan, good night, Nathan. And good night.
Thanks for tuning in.
Good night from me and good night from him. No, good night from him and good. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, thanks for joining us and see you same time, same place next week. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh. Good night.